Good morning and welcome to the Big Backyard Cactus Garden. What I thought I'd do today is take a nice good look at what I have here in my cactus garden. Now it's nearly the end of October. It's beautiful. I'm sure the cat will make quite a few appearances as I go through here. So we're going to take a quick look at how it did this year. I'll probably put some pictures on this screen of some of the flowers that bloomed out here this year. Right now, what I still have blooming is this ruby necklace. I love the contrast of the bright yellow flowers on that purple and red plant. And of course I have my ice plant blooming like crazy, as it always does. So we'll take a look out here, and then I'm going to do a little bit of cactus garden maintenance, and then I'll show you what it looks like after that. So a quick tour of what I have. I have 5 or 6 actual cacti, like Trichocereus type cacti in here, or Cainocereus, that kind of thing. This one here has put on a couple of pups since I got it a few years ago. I've got this one back here. It grows, but it doesn't really do anything significant. Never flowered for me. I think this is my rainbow hedgehog cactus, and this one blooms for me each year and did beautiful this year. I'll show you that on the screen. Buried in here is a cactus. This one back here, I believe, is a claret cup cactus, and that blooms for me. I have this down here, which I think it might be a kind of rubusia, but I really don't know. That one blooms for me also. And the final upright type cactus that I have is this guy in here. Another one that I don't have an actual ID for, but oh, it's crowded out with this beautiful echeveria. Look at this echeveria. This thing just does amazing every year. It's grown quite a bit. All right, back here I've got some bunny ears cactus that does really well. I've got a small pencil cholla of some kind, my eastern prickly pear, a bigger version of cholla there. And this is an agave that I grew from seed. I'm very pleased with that. That agave was not from seed, but I think it might be the same variety, and it now has 1 and 2 pups growing in there with it. Back there is an opuntia called Dark Night. It hasn't flowered for me yet, and it doesn't grow very quickly. It's very, very slow growing. I've got another opuntia here. There's actually a piece there and a piece behind it. I think this one that has 2 different flower colors on the same plant, an orange and a yellow. I think it's called Oranges and Lemons or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. If I can think of it, I'll put it on the screen. Another cholla and another variety of opuntia prickly pear there. This one bloomed for me last year and the year before. It has lovely flowers. I like it quite a bit. So we come around here to the front for the last opuntia. Right here I have an opuntia baby Rita. It also grows very, very slowly in here. Barely puts on any size. I'm waiting for it to eventually get nice and big and flower, hopefully. And actually, I think I missed this guy earlier too. Another cactus that has 3 pups. So then as we look around, the rest of everything in here is more standard succulents. Like I said, I've got my agaves. I've got these ground covery type sedum things in here. I think they're sedums. There's a variety. It came originally in a tray from Lowe's, and then I split it up, and it's gone nuts since then. But I like having ground covers in here. The ice plant was separate, and so was the ruby necklace. I'm really pleased with how ruby necklace does out here, but I know it's not cold hardy and it won't survive the winter, so I'm gonna have to move some of that. Really love how this does out here. I'm not sure if it's an echeveria or a cedaveria. I'm not sure what the variety of succulent is there, but it's got a nice rosy fall color, although it's kind of pinky green year round, actually. And like I was showing you earlier, I've got this echeveria here, which just does splendidly, and this one back here as well. I really love having these here. There's more back there. Really, all in all, I'm very pleased with how my succulent and cactus garden has done since the first year I put it in. I'll pop a picture or two up on the screen showing what it was like when I first put it in, and you'll be able to compare that to what I have now. The one blooming back there is, I think it's Echeveria topsy-turvy. It could be cubic frost. I'm not 100% of that, sure of that. I have a second one right up here. I don't know the names of all of the varieties of plants that I have in here. I just know that it's a pretty green and lush desert garden, if there is such a thing as a green, lush desert garden. So I really like how it's turned out for me. It's done really well. Now today I'm going to have to tackle a few things in here. One, for the first time this year, I am not going to cover this up for the winter. In the past, I've put kind of a cold frame over top of this in the winter. I'll pop a picture up on the screen if I have one. And I did that to protect this from the rain and snow mostly. I was worried that they would freeze, but they would be too wet and it would be bad for them. And last year, I had problems with the cold frame pretty much blowing away in the weather, and it was pretty rough. And it got down to 17 degrees even after that happened. And so this year I decided I'm gonna just take the risk. I'm gonna leave this thing open to the air, open to the elements all winter long. We will see what happens. And because of that, I need to rescue a few things before I do that. I won't be pulling any whole plants out of this, but I will be taking chunks or cuttings out of each of the things in here that I like the best, just in case I need to replace them next year. I can replace them with plants that I've kept inside for the season. Anyway, I will show you what it looks like in a minute after I've done some cutting and some cleaning up, and we will be back. All right, well, I'm done trimming out the garden, and these are some things that I cut back, seriously. The eastern prickly pear was here, and it was just hanging over the agave and actually crushing the agave. In fact, you couldn't even tell that this Echinopsis cactus was even there. But there it is. It was buried, and now I'm reminded that I had it there. So that's cool. There were other little cacti that were buried by plants. I cut this ground cover way back, partly because look how much is growing out from the base. The stuff will do great, and it's probably good that I cut it way back. There's a little cactus here that I didn't even realize was there before. I'm not even sure what kind it is. And I've discovered other things as I went through as well. I did take a few cuttings of things that I want to keep inside, and I cut back one of my other opuntias, the one on the other side, because it was growing directly into the lattice work, and that didn't do any well. And I cut back one of the toyas. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those pieces yet. Actually, I might give them away. But here's another plant that was pretty much covered up. This tiger jaw is about to bloom actually, and it probably will. And hopefully I remember to take a picture when it does. And also, here's an aloe that I stuck in here and forgot about. It was completely covered up by this ice plant, which I cut way back. It may seem like by cutting back all of this stuff, I've taken away some protection for my cacti over the winter. But in all reality, I think that having that ground cover in there too thick would actually hold in a lot more moisture and prevent my cacti from doing as well over the winter. So I really think it's best that I got them in the situation where there is more air circulation around the plants and that they are able to thrive for the whole winter. You can see how much I cut off the eastern prickly pear, but that's insignificant because it'll grow back quite quickly. Down here, when you get to this other cactus, I only cut off a piece that was right there, and it folded up into that lattice back there, so it really just wasn't doing any good there. Another thing that came to light is this other agave that I planted and grew from seed. That thing is at least 4 years old, but it's a very small, slow-growing agave. I have another one that's in a pot in my house, and this one in the ground is a little bit bigger than the one in the pot, but I have a couple more in the ground here, and I just need to actually find them. They don't grow very quickly, and they hide really well. So let me see if I can find the other ones. To be honest, they might still be buried under ground cover. Oh, yeah, no, I don't see one there. Well, I may never see them again. It's one of those things, you plant something really small and you plant other things around it and it just gets buried. So maybe someday it'll get big enough to be visible again. And that's all I can hope for. Other than that, that's pretty much the situation with the cactus garden this year. I may take a few more cuttings before I totally give up on it for the winter. But essentially, this is it, your final end of season cactus garden tour. Now I do have plans for some of that ground cover that I picked up. Some of it I've planted in other places around the house. I like to plant ice plant, you can barely see it there, under my gutters. It gets rain there, and there's some of this other ground cover here. I planted it along the edge where my clematis is growing. I may add to that as well, just to keep it nice and lush under there. The roots of clematis like to be shaded, and that's certainly not the case right here. Anyway, this is supposed to be a cactus garden tour, so there you go. One last view of the cactus garden for the season. And I'll include in this all the photos I have of the flowers this summer. Have a great day, and thanks for stopping by my big backyard.